From 1791 until 1915, the almost 5 million Jews living in Eastern Europe were confined by the Tsars of Russia to an area known as the Pale of Settlement. The Pale consisted of 25 provinces that included Ukraine, Lithuania, and Belarusia. Russian lawmakers used the confines of the Pale as an opportunity to limit Jewish participation in most areas of social, economic, and political life. Large waves of anti-Semitic riots swept through the Pale as the concentration of Jews made them easy targets for pogroms and anti-Jewish violence. After almost 100 years of persecution, about 2.5 million Jews fled the Pale to seek a safer place to live. Yet, despite the mass departure, many Jewish people remained in their small towns, either because they were too poor or unfit to leave. They continued to hope and pray that their luck would somehow change. Sadly, the unfortunate millions who remained in Western Russia found themselves trapped there only to face the Nazi invasion of 1941, when barbarous crimes were committed against the Jews on an unimaginable scale. Today, there are hundreds of thousands of Jews still living in this region. They still face anti-Semitic attacks and are subject to the extreme economic hardships that plague the region. With barely any opportunities for employment, many parents are faced with having to abandon their children because they are unable to care for their basic needs. Presently, there are over 1 million orphans living in Russian and Ukrainian orphanages. The system is overburdened and underfunded. Severely abused and abandoned children are warehoused in state-run institutions with little or no rehabilitative services. 99% suffer from a debilitating condition called reactive attachment disorder, where they are unable to form healthy relationships in their lives. To compound this problem, most of the orphans are also afflicted with a wide range of psychological conditions, including post-traumatic stress disorder, fetal alcohol syndrome, and a variety of personality disorders. With inadequate services and primitive psychological care, an astonishing 90% of the children turn to crime, prostitution, commit suicide, live on the streets, abuse drugs and alcohol, or end up in prison after leaving the orphanage. For Jewish orphans, the situation is even worse, as they face a constant barrage of persecution and anti-Semitic treatment from the other children and staff. Scattered through the cities and villages of the former Soviet Union, there are hundreds of state-run orphanages. 70 to 90% of the orphans that live there have been abandoned by their parents. These children have suffered through unimaginable childhoods before entering the system. The people that were supposed to love them the most have instead abused and neglected them. Young children are being left alone to fend for themselves while their parents are turning to drugs and alcohol. With no food, clothing, or shelter, they are not only feeling the effects of physical abuse, but are also suffering from severe psychological trauma. The government's solution is to seize control of the children and place them into state-run institutions. The problem is, institutions are incapable of providing the care that these children so desperately need.
We are doing the best we can with the children in our orphanage. We do not have the funding to offer any advanced care. There is no money to hire a proper psychologist, and for every 25 to 30 children, there is only one caretaker. It is heartbreaking, but all we can do is keep them here until they are old enough to leave.
The effects of this type of confinement are devastating. as the child develops layer upon layer of psychological disorders, eventually rendering them disabled with virtually no chance of living a healthy life. At 4922 Trust, it has become clear that in order for these children to have any chance of living a healthy life, they must first need to heal from their traumatic pasts. Our Bnei Israel program is designed to do just that. We have assembled a renowned team of psychologists in Washington, D.C. who are experts in dealing with the multiple disorders which Eastern European orphans suffer. We have created a cutting-edge program which can begin to repair the brain damage that has been caused by years of abuse and neglect.
The program that we've built takes the basic tenets of brain science, attachment theory, looks at the impact of trauma, and builds relationships. And what's happened to these kids is that they have a relationship disorder. They don't know how to be in relationships. So our program begins with the therapists and goes to every member of the team, teaching the adults how to relate to the children as the valuable human beings that they are, sometimes underneath some very difficult behaviors.
We are the only direct service provider using these new techniques on such a large scale, as we treat over 750 children who are under our care. With 9 highly trained psychologists on the ground, we have taken over the psychological services in 2 Jewish orphanages and 2 Jewish schools, which are located within the former Pale of Settlement in Ukraine.
We're incredibly excited about this program because when we invest in children, in essence, we're doing God's work. There's nothing more important than we can do than to invest in our most vulnerable members of our society.
The Bnei Israel program is now providing the psychological services for the 110 children who attend the Jewish school in Bielitserka, Ukraine. 70% of the students come from very poor, high-risk families where a single unemployed mother is running the home. The children live in deplorable conditions and suffer from a wide range of psychological disorders. Often left to fend for themselves, the school has become a safe haven for these children as it offers a reprieve from their harsh living conditions.
It is our mission to not only educate our students, but to also give them a safe, stable, and loving environment to spend their days in. We have taken over many of the responsibilities of their parents. When the children come to school hungry, we feed them their daily meals. When they come to school in clothing that is old and worn, we buy them new clothes to wear. Now I am very proud to say that we can give our children the rehabilitative services that are necessary for them to heal and move forward in their lives.
Our chief psychologist is training the entire staff on how to interact with the children in a healthy manner. This is essential in reconnecting healthy brain patterns in children that have been abused and neglected. A psychological evaluation is also being done on each child so that individualized treatment plans can be implemented.
These children have so much love inside, but they do not know how to express it. Most of them are repressed and are also suffering from a variety of health issues that you usually don't see in such young children. For example, I am working with one of our students who has chronic bronchitis due to his poor living conditions. At the same time, he has some complicated mental health issues such as attention deficit disorder and multiple learning disabilities. He needs a lot of support at home. but his mother is very unstable as she herself is struggling to survive. She is unable to provide the nurturing and care that he needs as a child.
I try to do everything I can to take care of my son. He is ill and needs lots of medicine, but I can't afford to buy it every month. I don't know what to do. We have no money. I can't buy food. If it were not for the school, we would go hungry most days.
I am starting to see some progress with Misha. His health is improving as he is now spending his days at school rather than his cold and damp apartment. We are working on reconditioning his behaviour patterns as well as his communication skills. He is responding well to our therapy sessions, and I fully expect that in time he will stabilise and integrate well with the other children. This is an exciting programme which utilises the latest techniques in psychotherapy and is changing the lives of the students here. We are giving them back their future that has been taken away from them at such a young age.
Today, scattered through the Zhytomyr region, hundreds of Jewish children are facing the daily threats of starvation, abuse and neglect. They are being raised in houses that are not homes. They live with parents that fail to dispense the loving care, warmth and support that every child needs to flourish. Most of these children have never felt a tender caress or a loving embrace. It is here at the Alumim Children's Home and Social Rehabilitation Center where 90 such children have been taken in to live. They are very well cared for by a staff of loving professionals. They also attend the local Jewish school where they receive an excellent education.
We treat our children here as if they were our own. There are holidays, celebrations, summers away at camp, as well as art and music lessons. We do everything we can to enrich their lives, but it became painfully clear to us that just enriching their lives was not enough. We knew that our children needed therapeutic help, but we did not have the resources or the funds to provide it.
The Alumim Children's Home reached out for help, and 4922 Trust answered by implementing our Bnei Israel Orphans program at the orphanage. We have taken over the therapeutic services for the home's 90 children. We have also placed another psychologist at the Jewish school in Zhytomyr so that we can provide comprehensive treatment for the Alumim children, plus an additional 50 children who attend classes there.
This is such a blessing. We have dreamed about such a program that would heal and rehabilitate our children. I am very grateful that we can offer such advanced therapeutic services like this in our small home. I have always had so much hope for our children, but now that hope has turned into a reality.
The Bnei Israel pilot program was launched in Odessa, Ukraine only 1 year ago. It was an experiment to see if we could implement such an advanced therapeutic program in a remote location. Not only was this experiment a great success, but Odessa has turned into our biggest rehabilitation center, with over 450 children under our care and 6 psychologists on our staff.
Our rehabilitative program is offering the most advanced psychological care that is available for underprivileged children living in the former Soviet Union. We can see on brain scans and electronic imaging that the brain of a child that has been neglected and abused at an early age is different than the brain of a child that comes from a healthy family setting. We now know that we can help these damaged children form healthy, new connections in their brains, so that they can begin to move forward in their young lives. All that you have to do is look into the children's faces to see that it is working. They are smiling and are full of life. They are doing better in school, making new friends and communicating in a positive manner with adults. I am proud to be managing a program that is not only changing the lives of the children that we are working with, but has the potential to change the way that orphans around the world are being rehabilitated.
4922 Trust is committed to finding and rehabilitating underprivileged Jewish children in the former Soviet Union. These children are smart, creative, and full of love, and together we can heal them from the devastating effects of abandonment, abuse, and neglect. Let's bless the children of the Bnei Israel program.